Well, good morning, you guys. Welcome back to the channel. This is the backup channel. We're going to try this for about a week for the live shows, and we'll see what happens. And we'll probably end up back on the main channel, but I had to try something. Today, we're going to get into another federal ICE operation coming to a state near you, as well as some updates on Stranger Things. I've got several clips for you guys that'll bring us to the current release of Stranger Things. Also, we're going to get into a flesh-eating, contaminated imported beef story from Mexico. And finally, the mainstream media is finally acknowledging that you can overdose on cannabis and how. We're going to get into that story as well. Now, before we get into the show today, my mom came back in from her walk and I could hear her frantically calling the police. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Literally, somebody had pried open the metal mailbox. Everybody knows the metal mailboxes that are supposed to be secure with everybody's mailboxes all in one giant box. And you have to have a key to open it. Well, somebody had pried open the metal mailbox, which is literally 20 yards from the front door, and stole everybody's Christmas cards with money in them for children and things like this, because they know the time of year. It's almost like an organized crime ring where these people go around certain times of the year. They know exactly when to commit these crimes. When they rummaged through my car, it was the last warm night that we had before we went into, the fall and winter. And they're like, oh, okay, it's going to be 60 degrees tonight. Let's go out and rummage through some cars. Then, of course, the scrutiny that happened last week here in Stockton, and now metal mailboxes being pried open. Yeah, there was a camera system. I got the whole thing on camera, Jason Brain, I guess it says. I put it up on my Facebook, so that video has actually gone viral because I caught the guys on camera rummaging through my car. So they don't care about cameras anymore. It's lawlessness, and it's weird because you would think that this would, because of all this posturing by Trump and ICE and the police, they've been emboldened that things would get better. But no, they're getting worse, because what has been created is a toxic atmosphere of us against them, and people are going to scurry around and still commit more and more and more crimes. It's worse than it's ever been here in Stockton. Because I grew up here. And so I know that it's worse. So how is that possible? How is it getting worse when the police are infringing more and more on our rights? Well, it just goes to show you that you can give up rights for safety and security, but you're never going to be more safe and secure. And that's how it works. Now, what's sad about this is that my mom says she doesn't want to bother the police with something that she thought was kind of small on the priority list. She did call some other law enforcement. But here we are, shootings, car break-ins, mailbox theft, all within the last few weeks, escalating violence, and it almost feels like a third world country in some of our major cities. And whatever it is that our federal government is claiming to do seems to only be escalating the violence. So, what are the feds up to in the Minnesota dead of winter? Well, they're targeting Somalians. Here's our latest group that is being targeted for racial profiling. Let's take a look.
Target of the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. To be the next target of the Trump administration, Somali community appears to be the next target of the Trump administration's immigration crackdown.
I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country.
CBS News has learned that ICE will launch an enforcement sweep in the Twin Cities this week. Agents plan to go after migrants with deportation orders. We have team coverage for you tonight, starting with WCCO's Connor White and the latest developments.
Now understand that if you're not Somalian, you think, oh, I have nothing to worry about. Well, they're going to be coming into your building, door to door, and bringing the violence to your city. You will have to show your papers if you look Somalian. If you're a thin black person, you might get wrapped up in all this. Okay, you will lose some of your rights and privacy because of this. Now, I'm not here to defend the Somalians, okay? Let's get that straight right off the bat. What I'm here to do is to draw a hard line between infringing on American rights and these activities that are going on in our major cities across America. Now, the public is already primed to do whatever it is that's necessary to weed out illegals, violent and non-violent. Trump has already primed the pump of hate by accusing the Somalians of eating people's cats, which, believe it or not, is probably true that happens. But it's been going on since I can remember, and nobody seemed to care 50 years ago when groups of people from other countries where it's normal to eat cats came into our country. Nobody cared. They forced these people in our communities. And you can say that that's Democrat policies, but there were no Republicans over the last 50 years that have undone that. So it's not just Democrat policies. And you can say that, oh, Trump's finally going to do something about it. But then you got to ask yourself, why didn't he do it during the first administration? Why now? What's the difference? There is no difference. The difference is it's being used as a cover for something much more dark and much more sinister. What else is going on? Well, let's check in with Stranger Things. I think that's what we have going on next here. Now, this is crazy. So, everybody's been talking about Holly's blue dress. Holly is the girl that got abducted in Stranger Things, as she's essentially playing house with the devil. She's locked in some kind of subliminal dream state, the land of Oz. And the devil makes it appear as though she's in this pretty little place, in this beautiful house with the sun that never sets. And she's frolicking around, but really, she's locked into some kind of bizarre structure. And we're going to get into that structure because it looks like a magnetic field, something we've talked about at length. But in her mind, she's in this dream state. And the whole scene reminds me of The Matrix, where they've got a tube over their face or in their stomach like an umbilical cord, and all their energy and life is being sucked out of them as they're dreaming a reality that does not exist. And that's kind of what's happening to Holly here in this house. She's in an Oz-like reality. And people online noticed that the dress that he puts her in is comparable to The Wizard of Oz or Alice in Wonderland. Here's the Reddit post. It says, Holly's blue dress parallels to literature. I thought it was interesting. They put her in this. Other little girls in blue dresses who ended up in new worlds include Dorothy from Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland. Definitely intentional. And so this was the comparison that other people already made to Holly in this blue dress. There are also Little Riding Hood echoes in this as well. Now, let's take a look at some of this. I got several clips for you guys.
Henry said never to go into the woods. Never, ever.
Now, there's the blue dress from Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. Very similar. I wouldn't say it's exactly the same, but I wanted to compare the two for you guys. Now, let's get into this next clip here. Now, remember, we had all these discussions about magnetic fields. That the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was likely a magnetic field of duality that we're kind of stuck in. Two magnetic fields, two trees, tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Well, the bad guy in Stranger Things, Vecna, is using the same magnetic field to trap children in his dimension of the upside down. Let's take a look.
Extra spires.
Look at this. These are the eyes of Molech. We've covered this before, the magnetic field. The children are stuck here in the walls, almost like stars, fixed in the firmament. We're stuck in a magnetic field, you guys. This is obvious. They show us the magnetic field and it looks exactly like this, but it's also the eyes of Molech. And I believe it's why the stars spin the way they do in the sky. It's because it follows the course of the magnetic field. Let's see if we can find that. Spinning stars, panoramic time lapse. Now, this is one of the early discoveries on this channel. We were looking at how the stars spin above and below the firmament. Above and below the horizon. And this is what it looks like. Let's find it. Okay, here's a good image of it here. This is the magnetic field. This is what it looks like. This is a real image, but it's time-lapse and panoramic. So the horizon goes right through the middle of the eyes here. These are the eyes of Molech. This is why the enemy worships Molech, because it's the time prison of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Now, what's crazy is, look, it looks just like an owl. Now, what's crazy is, and look, maybe this is where the one-eyed symbolism comes from. Because one of the eyes is blocked out by the actual vantage point of the person looking at this. Now, what's crazy is, what else do we have here? David knew about this, probably inspired by the Creator himself. How did David from the Bible know this? Well, the book of Psalm 23. I shall walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I will fear no evil. You are my rod and my staff. The valley of the shadow of death is this central portion. The staff is what he grabs onto, which would form like one of these star streams here. To get through the narrow gate and out of this tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This is a tree. And all the fruit is bad right now. All the fruit that's in this tree is bad. Sin has entered the world. It's not going away until Jesus' plan takes hold. So, this was an early discovery on the channel. Right? Here's another image of it here. This one's good because it shows the horizon line. Okay? You can see the eyes peeking over. Now, it only looks like this at the equator. Okay? You have to be right on the equator in order to see this particular pattern. If you're closer to the North Pole, you only see one circle. You'll see one eye of the owl. If you're on the equator, you see this whole thing. And if you're toward the southern hemisphere, you will only see the southern star spin. Now, there are some theories out there that the stars spinning at the southern portion of the hemisphere are actually the same stars in the north. They're just mirrored. Now, I don't know about that, but I'm just sharing with you some theories about that it might just be a mirror people are looking at. And now you have the secret to why the owl is the animal for Molech, or one of the animals, the male or female version, because it's all about the Milky Way. MLK. Molech. Casey, you're just making stuff up. Well, the Milky Way is probably the scar that was left in the heavens when the angels were thrown out. And it actually forms a giant Ouroboros in the sky. Let me show you that. The Milky Way, it completes itself in a circle. You can't make this up. Here it is. It's like a dragon eating its tail. It's the original form of the Ouroboros. Here's an image here. The head of this snake is like right here. And here it is crossing the sky. Here's the head of the snake, and it's eating itself over and over. If you were to remove this horizon, that's what you would see. And that's what it is. Now, let's keep going. Because there it is. Now you know what you're looking at. This is Molech. Do not sacrifice your children to Molech in the fire. This is why they made these walls look like fire. And this is why fire is used to get through into the upside down in the series. The fire is how they open these gates with these with fire.
Night 1, Vecna kidnaps Holly. Night 2, he takes 3 more.
He's escalating, and he's coming for more.
Yeah,
I'll be pausing this intermittently for copyright, obviously. They're talking about Vecna, and he's got a series of children that he's abducting to give power to open this portal. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. In this case, probably to try to escape.
8 more, if this is accurate, which brings him to a total of 12.
By Sarah and just
12 children total. That would be the 12 tribes of Israel times 12,000, 144,000. They're looking for the chosen ones.
coming for dipshit.
The virgins in the last days, obviously children. Here they are locked in the, I guess you could call it a firmament of the magnetic field in the Wizard of Oz Wonderland. And this is where you get echoes of the Matrix, because this is what the Matrix looks like, right? But they're all in a dream state.
And there were others. There's 3 others.
Can't make this up, you guys. Now, I would not recommend this series. It has become very, very dark. I'm giving you the Cliff Notes version of this so that you're prepared to talk about this when that wonderful, beautiful Christian family comes to you and says, hey, have you guys seen Stranger Things? It's amazing. You should take your kids to go see it. And then you could say, actually, that's a very demonic TV series talking about the devil and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and all the things that I'm showing on here. And maybe that family will wake up and stop walking through the traps that the devil has set in these last days to steer people off the course of true belief in God.
These extra spires. I mean, night 1, Vecna kidnaps Holly. Night 2, he takes 3 more. Total of 12.
What does he want with them? And why kids?
And why 12?
I don't know. But we have to stop him before he takes any more.
Back
So I have a couple more clips for you. Let me check in with you guys and we'll finish up these clips. And I also have some more stories for you guys. Please thumbs up the video if you haven't already. Thanks, you guys. Hit the like button. Let's get this video out far and wide. Let's keep going here.
targets. We could get them out of Hawkins.
And out of Vecna's reach.
Did you forget we're quarantined?
That's not all.
All right, what else do we have here? Well, here is Holly, and she's talking to another person trapped in Vecna's magnetic field.
With each victim that he took, he created a new gate.
A gate to the upside down?
So there you go. It's to open the gate. It's to open the portal. And I've been telling you guys that the portal opens on the 5th of November. Well, watch this.
When he took me, he opened the 4th, final gate.
They tell you the truth.
Somehow, I was in another time. Hawkins. 30 years ago.
There it is, November 6th, the 6th of November, when the Pleiades are highest in the sky, is when the gate opens. The veil is thinnest, and they're literally telling you everything that I already showed you guys in a brand new TV series that just released a few days ago. So if you needed confirmation that we were on the right track, here it is, right here. Hawkins Tigers. Let's watch this back again.
30 years ago.
Time travel.
So there you go. It's not all just made up, unless they're watching the channel for content to make these series, but they're really not, because all this was produced before probably we talked it. Well, no, we've been talking about this for at least 5 years now. So yeah, they could be watching the channel for content, but we're just ahead of the game, and you know, they're doing everything they can to scramble to continue to predictively program people. And that's probably what's happening. Let me check with you guys, see if you have any questions on Stranger Things and what I just showed you. And then we'll move into some of these last news stories. What a trip, right? What a trip. Now, when I tell you that we already covered something, it's not because I'm trying to brag about it. I'm trying to show you the continuity of the work, okay? Because all the credit goes to the Most High. I'm trying to show you that we're not just shooting in the dark and wasting your time. That things build upon other things. And unless you've been on the journey for the last 13 years and seen all of how everything's come together, that there were really no wasted videos or decodes, that there is a Holy Spirit behind it showing you everything that's happening so that you can understand how this reality really works. Not the lie that we're sold about what's happening, but the truth about what's happening, right? Now, you guys have any questions about Stranger Things? That brings us up to the first 4 episodes, which is all that's been released so far. Apparently, there's another 4 episodes that are supposed to release here soon, and I'll definitely be decoding those as well. But let's get into, let's see. Oh, I Pet Goat 2 girl. Yeah, sure enough, right? Let's take a look. Well, let's just do this. Let's go straight to the website. This is heliofant.com. What is this? Got all kinds of weird stuff on here now. A lot of it's in French. This is the Canadian production company that actually produced I Pet Goat 2, which came out 13 years ago as well. They've got all this stuff on the site now. Pretty crazy. But the person we're looking for, let's go to the gallery here, is Lily. And here she is here in the classroom. And yes, she does have a similar dress. I don't see the blue on it, but similar. See what's some patterns on there. The apple. Now we've decoded her at length. But wow. Okay, let's keep going, you guys. So, where's the beef? Remember, where's the beef? Kind of dating ourselves, aren't we? Where's the beef? That was in like the 80s. I think maybe the 90s. That was a commercial. It came on TV. What was it? Burger King? Because they had a beef patty that was like half an ounce to 2 ounces bigger than McDonald's. So they would make fun of the McDonald's hamburgers, and they would show these massive. Let's look it up. Let's go blast to the past. Where's the beef ads? Let's go back to the past here. And they had this little old lady, and that's what made it funny, because she's like, where's the beef? Here's one. Oh, was it Wendy's? It was Wendy's. It was Wendy's, not Burger King. Look at this. Where's the beef? Look at all bun and no patty. And home of the big bun. They were capping on all the other. Look at this. Where's the beef? You guys remember this? Whoa, wait a minute. Is that a checkerboard floor back there? Hold on. No, not really. So this was what it was, and they just went on and on with the ads. Wendy's, where's the beef? And it worked because everybody came to Wendy's, and they made it. They're like, oh, our bun, our beef patty is square. So you think subliminally you're just getting more beef, right? Because it's square, and so therefore you're getting more beef. But I can tell you that we had Wendy's the other day. My mom was like, well, you want to go get us some Wendy's? I'm like, I don't really eat fast food, Mom, but yeah, I'll go get us some Wendy's. And the meat doesn't taste like it's solid meat. There's something mixed in there. So they're probably getting their meat back a different way so they can maintain their profits. But the beef patty for Wendy's does not taste like a beef patty from other places that seem like they're more solid beef. But I could be wrong about that. I don't know. I'm just giving you my gut feeling. But yeah, where's the beef? So, oh, look at this. Driving Miss Daisy. I wish we could watch some of those right now, but I don't know about copyright. So anyway, why are we talking about where's the beef? Well, here we are again. History repeats, right? Flesh-eating worm in Mexico is squeezing the U.S. beef supply. If you haven't checked the grocery store lately, beef costs are at an all-time high. And Trump was talking about getting, other countries to sell us beef or whatever, so that our prices could come down. I don't know if that's working or not yet, but let's read this. It says Juan Manuel Fleischer's ancestors ranched on the borderlands before the United States existed. In Arizona, residents' business importing Mexican cattle across the modern-day frontier has survived decades of immigration politics and the construction of a towering steel wall. But that work has collapsed over the past year as an insidious threat shakes U.S.-Mexico relations and the American beef industry. The New World screw worm, a flesh-eating parasite that has resurged south of the border 60 years after it was mostly eradicated in U.S. livestock. Whoa. 1.2 million young Mexican cattle cross each year through a half dozen entry ports to bulk up in American pastures or feed yards. So, looks like the Mexican cattle are becoming the illegals, right? Entry ports? They have like a tunnel? This is like a cattle tunnel? So weird. But now remember, cattle and beef and cows are always metaphors for humans. The very word vaccine came out of the word vaca, which is a cow, because this is where they experimented on mass vaccination. It was done in these herds and then rolled out to the rest of us. So we are the cow. They call us the goyim. Okay, that's who we are to them. So this is funny because there literally is a metaphor going on here with these cattle coming across the border through the steel fence. But the gates have been shut to livestock for most of the past year, since a cow in southern Mexico tested positive in November 2024 for the screwworm, which are maggots that burrow into warm-blooded animals, creating foul-smelling wounds and sometimes fatal weight loss. Wow, Mexican cattle imports have plunged to about 230,000 in 2025. Now, I wouldn't trust any of this beef at this point. You know, what if one gets through? That's the one you eat. My gosh, now I don't know if this is contagious or what, but this is crazy. You gotta leave a link to the story. Wow, where's the beef? Now, check this out. Probably about 8 years ago, we did a show on cannabis, and I was telling you about specific stories that friends had shared who are regular cannabis users, where they would smoke too much and they would get this weird condition where they would get so nauseous they couldn't stop vomiting. And I was laughed off of YouTube. Oh, you're just making stuff up. Well, now they're finally admitting that this actually happens. It's a form of overdose. Not that this can happen to everybody, but if you're a daily user, this could happen to you. They're calling it scromiting. And so I can already hear the comments now. You're going to believe a CNN story? Well, ask around, okay? Ask around. This is real. I knew it was real. I tried to report on it just to be careful. Not that I judge people that use cannabis, but I was like, hey, you can actually smoke too much and this can happen to you. Basically, your histamine receptor in your stomach, which usually what happens is the histamine receptor is helped by moderate use of cannabis. It'll actually help with nausea. But if you smoke too much, it like flips the receptor. And all of a sudden now you get this nauseous feeling and uncontrolled vomiting. And they're calling it scromiting. No, I didn't call it scromiting. But basically screaming and vomiting at the same time. Some people describe it as worse than childbirth. Describe bouts of uncontrollable vomiting after marijuana use. Now, if you didn't know what was causing this, if you listen to the cannabis community, that's going to tell you that cannabis cures everything. It's the magic, biblical, or whatever, then you're not even going to know what's causing this. You're going to be in denial, kind of like an alcoholic that thinks that they can drink every day and it's not going to do anything to their body. And, you know, they'll make every excuse, and then all of a sudden their body starts falling apart and they're sick and tired and nothing works in their body. But then they just never realize that it's the alcohol that's causing it. It's almost as if these substances do something to the brain that turns it off of reality and puts you in a state of denial. So someone would be going to the doctor, and because this is not widely known, the doctor might not even know what's going on. He's not going to think to ask, hey, are you a daily cannabis user? He's just going to give you some, meds to help your stomach, maybe run some tests. Now, if you know the truth, you'll be like, oh, maybe I need to back off for a week or something. And you'll probably feel better. Let's read this. I was crying and screaming. I was like, I can't take this anymore. And I've actually watched people go through this. I wasn't ever making any of this up. Handful of people in my life that I knew that were daily users went through this, and I actually watched them going through this. Okay, so I wasn't making any of that up. I'm just begging God, please make it stop. Dubbed scromiting by social media due to the combination of screaming and loud vomiting. The medical name for the condition is cannabis hyperemesis syndrome, CHS, which is on the rise in the U.S. Habitual users, including teenagers, are showing up in emergency rooms. Now, They're calling this severe intestinal distress, which of course could be life-threatening. They're writhing, holding their stomach, complaining of really bad abdominal pain, nausea. So this is real. Again, I'm not bringing this up to judge anybody. I'm bringing this up so you have the knowledge that if you're going through something like this, you know exactly what it is and how to fix it instead of being left in the dark because maybe you're living in an alternate reality where people have told you this is impossible and it's impossible to overdose on cannabis, right? That's why we're talking about this today. So they're saying over half the 19 reported using extremely hot baths or showers to self-treat their symptoms. So that could help you feel better, at least until it's out of your system. But wow, what a trip, you guys. What a trip. Now, let me go back into the chat. Good morning. All right. You have to go buy your beef and use a microscope, yeah, right? Before you eat it. I'm starting to wonder. Now, I would agree. You could make the argument that the weed now is different than it was, maybe, you know. But I've seen all the way back. I can think back 10 years ago when I saw this happen to one of my friends, and it didn't take much. Once your body tips over, then even once a day taking a bong rip can put you into this condition. And that's what I saw. My friend from 10 years ago, I remember, went to his house, went into the room, took a bong rip, and the guy couldn't stop coughing, and he was on the toilet. And I'm like, why do you do that to yourself every day? So, could be the new cannabis, could be something else. I don't know. Well, what else is going on, you guys? Yeah, hard to test the gummies. Yeah, so that's another issue. Unfortunately, cannabis exists in this no man's land, okay, where it's kind of legal, but it's kind of not. And because it's in that no man's land, there aren't really regulations on how it's produced. Well, there kind of are. Like in California, my daughter actually works at one of these places, and they do have strict federal regulations on how it's produced, right? Like the content is like tested and stuff. So there are some regulations. Now I don't know if that's across the board, but I believe that's the case. But it's weird. People are telling me that sometimes they reintroduce the THC back into some of these products, so it's not even naturally in there. They use some kind of powder that's even more highly regulated by the federal government. Comes from these like secret places, so it might look like it's regular old green, but then literally they sprinkle this dust-like stuff. Now, someone confirm this. This is just something I heard from one or two people. They sprinkle this dust-like THC back into the products, and that stuff, nobody knows where that comes from. So, yeah, Trump's talking about banning some of this. So, yeah, we're just having a discussion here, you guys. Yes, they're gonna make what Trump has passed a law to make it illegal. That was, let's see here, Trump. Let's look it up so I don't misspeak here. Bans the vast majority of intoxicating hemp-derived THC products nationwide. Yes, so the gummies is probably all going to go away. Hemp was defined as having less than 0.3% Delta 9 THC on dry weight basis, which created a loophole allowing intoxicating products like Delta 8, Delta 10 to be sold legally across the country. New THC limits. Under the new law, a product is considered illegal if it contains more than 0.4 milligrams of total THC per container. This dramatically low limit means almost all currently available consumable products such as gummies and beverages will be banned. So this is what's happening. THC products. Let's try this. Powder. See if we can find anything on this. THC powder products added back into buds. So this is what some of you claim is happening. It's not. They basically create a bud with 0 THC, and then they add in the THC is what someone told me is happening, which is completely unnatural and weird. And nobody knows where these isolates come from. This powder, nobody knows where it comes from. Could be government. So you just got to be careful out there. Your best bet, if you're a user, is to grow your own. That way you know exactly where it comes from, if that's legal in your state. I don't think it's legal in Arkansas. Might be. But yeah. All right. Now, I told you guys long ago that essentially the government wants to control anything that's making any amount of money that could help people or that's not being taxed. This is our pattern. This is what they do. They want to regulate everything and tax everything. It's about control. They hate it when a new industry emerges where people can actually be self-sufficient. And so they'll put all these labels and tags and requirements on it under the guise of safety. Oh, it's to keep you safe. But really, it's about control. And so once they control it, they control you, is the problem. Okay, this is why cannabis should have never been legalized. It needed to be decriminalized. Because I guess I'm libertarian in this way where I think, hey, if you want to do what you want to do, I'm not going to stop you as long as you're not affecting children or other people and things like this. What you put into your body is your choice. Okay, I'm not going to try to tell you you can or can't do this or that. And because that's between you and God, right? So it should have been decriminalized, not legalized. The legalization process actually made it way worse. It put a bunch of people out of business because they can't keep up with all the regulations that it takes to be a cannabis farmer. And I've heard specific instances and stories of people that used to be farmers and just couldn't deal with it. They couldn't deal with the drones flying over their house. They couldn't deal with the Fed showing up to their doorstep, demanding accounting and accountability, counting their plants, the loss of rights. They couldn't deal with carrying cash around all the time and not being able to put this money in the bank. There are lots of rules now with cannabis, more than ever there were before. And all what happened is they federalized cannabis. That's what happened in this country. So before legalization, they wiped out all the good strains, says Sheldon. Costco meat is being injected with mRNA. Wow. All right. All by design, 100%. Craig's had to repent from weed. Maine is riddled with illegal Chinese grow farms. Corrupt state. Yep. And the big secret is they're probably all working with the federal government on some level. There's so much corruption, you guys. Max used cannabis oil to get rid of aggressive throat cancer. They jailed MJ users, dealers, as they let the pedos go free. Yup. They will take our food next if we have too much of it. All right. Okay, you guys, I'm going to pop off here. Now, I will re-upload today's live show at night. So that's what we're going to do. We're trying that. We're just trying different stuff. You guys are welcome to show up to that. But if you've already seen this morning show, there's no need to do that. But that's what I'll be doing. I love each and every one of you. Have a great rest of your day, you guys. Much love.